8 indifferent Nico Sturm trade to the Colorado Avalanche in exchange for Tyson Jost, centerman, natural center rather. He played wing a little bit in Colorado. First round pick out of North Dakota back in 2016. Just never really got the opportunity to shine in Colorado. Weird. They got some talented players out there.
I wish we had those problems.
I know, right? And Nico Sturm was entering unrestricted free agency this year. He had a cheap salary. Tyson Jost carries a $2 million salary. He's got another year left on that contract that Minnesota pick up. Alexis, what did you think? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Or were you kind of meh?
So initial reaction was that I liked it. And I think one of the biggest reasons that I'm totally fine with this trade and think it could benefit the Wild is because the fact that we wouldn't have been able to pay Nico Sturm. He was going to be gone at the end of the season anyway. And Jesse, you've made it a point to remind people of this over the last couple of weeks, that there is guys on this team that, as much as we love them and as much as we think they're a great piece to have, aren't going to be able to be on this team come next season. So you might as well use them. Kevin Fiala being one of them, and Nico Sturm was one of them. So you might as well use them as trade pieces if you can, and try to get some kind of a return for them rather than just letting them walk into free agency and find a new team. So that was, I think, the biggest reason that I'm okay with this trade. And Nico Sturm has been great for the Wild this year. I would even argue early in the season, he was one of the best players for the Wild back when that fourth line was really pulling the weight, when the first line was still trying to find their groove. So I was sad to see him go. The only thing that kind of has me wondering if it'll pan out or not is, and we'll talk about this in our Q's with the Beauties, so check that out as well, is the fact that if you look at their numbers, Tyson Jost has more experience, more games played in the NHL than Nico Sturm does, but their averages for their points and all of that are about the same. So you're not getting right off the bat this immediate upgrade of, oh my God, Tyson Jost has twice as many points as Nico Sturm and the same amount of games played. It's not that kind of deal. But like Jesse just mentioned, he didn't really get to play the role that I think a lot of people know he's capable of playing when he was with Colorado. So hopefully here with the Wild, the goal is, and I'm sure this is what was in Billy G's mind when he made this trade, is we could get him to that spot where he can really shine, and those numbers only go up and we see a return on the trade here. So I have a lot of optimism this could work really well. I love that he can play wing or center. We know the Wild have some center issues, and maybe that could be used to their advantage, and just to have the flexibility knowing he could play either role. I like that as well. Although his face-off numbers are not great. I think that was the most disappointing thing when looking at his stats. But overall, I really like the trade, and I think it's got a lot of potential. And a lot of times that's all you can ask for with the trade, is that the potential for good is there. And I think it is in this case. Jesse, where do you stand on the scale?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say I was surprised necessarily. I just kind of was like, oh, okay, that's interesting when I, got the notification about it. You're right. You're getting a value for Nico Sturm. He comes at a low salary. And I know everybody was worried, oh, now Colorado can go get Claude Giroux, which yes, they absolutely can, because they took $2 million off their books with Minnesota taking that. I mean, Colorado's still going to be Colorado at the end of the day, whether they have Claude Giroux or not. Like, you're still, as Daryl Sutter had so nicely said, it seems like a waste of 8 days to be a wild card team playing the Colorado Avalanche anyway, and that's without Claude Giroux. So, I mean, sure, that helps. I think, change of scenery. I know it's so trite, but a change of scenery can help a guy, and hopefully that helps Tyson Jost. He's a great team guy, and as we mentioned, even in segment 1, and as we continue to mention throughout this year, that locker room, there's something special in that room, the way that they all come together. So bringing in a guy like Tyson, it's not going to disrupt it. It's going to help it. They go out and get the win right away once he's traded. I don't want to say that was because of him. He played 10 minutes. But very important 10 minutes. A very important 10 minutes. And Nico will do, I mean, good for Nico. He gets to go to a true cup contending team for the rest of this year. So I'm eager to see what more Tyson can bring. He had very strong offensive power when he was at North Dakota. And that was obviously why Colorado wanted to sign him. He's supposed to be really good on the PK. We saw a little glimpse of him on special teams there. So, I mean, there's more to be desired, right? But it's game 1 by the time we're talking. He'll have 2 games when you guys are listening to this. So
how do you feel about, I got to ask quick, because I saw a lot of people talking about this, and it is a great talking point in sports here. How do you feel about interdivision trades? Because I know it's something that a lot of times in NHL GMs will avoid it because they don't want to give a potentially good piece to a team they might be fighting for a playoff spot with or playing in the first round of the playoffs. Do you kind of agree that you should stay away from that stuff? Or because I loved what Billy G said. Again, he's had some great quotes this week. He said, I'm not worried about them. I'm worried about us. And I think that's a great mentality. But at the same time, it is something to consider. Where do you fall on that? Do you think you should stay away from it?
I mean, you know what, at the end of, again, you have to be able to compete against those teams. And yes, you don't want to give them something that's going to obviously give them an upper hand, but you can't completely eliminate the possibility that they could also help you, right? Like Colorado has very strong players and they only can carry so much as well. So to say, no, I can't take anybody from Colorado, or no, they can't take anybody from us. Why eliminate that potential? Why, and I understand where you look at Dallas, for instance, now that they're making this push, Braden Holtby off the market, right? Because they want to keep all their guys. Joe Pavelski, they re-signed, they wouldn't trade him interdivision. So I mean, I get it, right? Because it's the rivalry, the competition.
Yeah.
But if it works, it works. And there's no reason to just be like, nope, can't talk to Colorado, can't talk to Calgary, can't talk to Dallas and whatnot. Like, well, they have pieces that you need too, just as much as you have pieces they need. So I don't know. I'm indifferent on that one, right? Because it's like, I get it. I get that you don't want to give them an advantage, but also they could give you an advantage. I think you forget that reverse. What do you think, Alexis?
I agree with you that I think it's kind of silly to just dismiss the fact that there's so many good, and especially the Central Division, especially in recent years, has been one of the strongest divisions and one of the toughest divisions to play in. You've seen some of the best battles for playoff spots in the Central Division in the last handful of years, which means there's a lot of talent there. So you're saying I'm not going to look within my own division to maybe find a piece I really need. So I agree that as it can be kind of scary to give a divisional opponent a piece that maybe is the missing piece for them and they become this, top tier talent, or in Colorado's case, the next otherworldly talent. I get it's a little scary, but at the end of the day, if you see a piece there that you think, hey, this is going to work really well for us, I have no problem with you taking that chance. And I'm not going to be mad if Nico Sturm becomes a superstar on Colorado, right? You think Tyson Jost is a good fit? Go get him. I don't have any issues with the fact that he played for a divisional opponent. So at the end of the day, I'm more concerned, like Billy G said, I'm concerned what you think is going to work well for this team. You can't be concerned with what everybody else around you is doing. You just can't.
Because again, you have to go through them anyway. Colorado is still going to be Colorado, Nico Sturm or not. I mean, yes, you're not going to give them Kirill Kaprizov, right? Like, you're not going to be like, here
that would be stupid.
right? Like, I mean, you're not going to help them, but at the same time, like, and Nico's a fine player. He's a good fourth liner. I mean, it is what it is. Yes, Colorado worked it to their advantage where they get the cap space. Minnesota worked it to their advantage where they get a solid centerman and get something in exchange for Nico. So, I get it. I get why people question it, but it's the timing, I suppose, right? Like,
sure,
certainly trade deadline time when everyone's making this push, it definitely feels weird, right? Like, it just kind of has a weird feeling, like, we're gonna trade with you, and I know you're really good, and I mean,
we might see you in the playoffs in a month and a half, but
exactly, we might waste 8 days with you. Who knows?